just to clarify something, because I just recorded my review and I noticed something. I didn't mention, the fact that Metal opened the first gate, and the fact that when he was super nervous and when he started fighting, he was super unpredictable, which gave me some strong drunken fist vibes. The reason why I didn't mention any of that is because, everybody can mention that, yeah, it was cool, it was enjoyable, it was nostalgic and all that. But I kind of wanted to focus on Metal Lee's anxiety issues, the way his character was handled in this episode, and, stuff like that. The only reason why I'm adding this at the start of the video is because I don't want somebody to say, oh, you forgot about this. No, I didn't forget. It's just, that's just cool, right? But there's a bit more to this episode than that. So, yeah, I'll play the video now. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Hokage here. Welcome to the video. Today we're going to talk about Boruto episode 70. And honestly, saying number 70, like, that's a lot of episodes. Time flies. It feels like I reviewed the first episode yesterday. So yeah, that's just completely mind-blowing to me. But anyway, this episode gave me strong episode 33 vibes. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to explain it in a bit. So with that said, let's get into the review. The reason why I compared this episode to episode 33 is because these episodes pretty much have the same formulas. Episode 33 focused on Inojin's character and his character's struggle, and by the end of the episode he kind of progressed, and the same thing was done today with Metal Lee, and that's something that I really appreciate from the series. And I respect that. I respected the writers for making such an episode. And the fact that they did it so well in this episode for Metal Lee, it just makes me even more sad for the JoJo arc that we had recently. A lot of people say that that there should have been one episode about her as well, the same way it was done for Inojin and Metal Lee. I disagree with that. I think that for JoJo 2 episodes were necessary just because of how her character was throughout the series. If you watch my channel for a certain period, I guess you would know my opinions on JoJo and why I think that. So I'm not gonna repeat myself because the point of this video should be episode 70. I'm going off topic right now, but anyway, let me just bring it up. I think 2 episodes were necessary for JoJo Aki Michi, not 3. And in general, the way her character development was done was, in my opinion, much less enjoyable than this one. And those 3 episodes came after the versus Momoshiki arc. Everybody was so hyped about Boruto, and the JoJo episodes killed the hype and all that. But this episode was great, and I'm like, why couldn't the JoJo episodes be like this episode, if you get what I mean? Yeah, let's just get into the review of this episode. Before I started recording my review, I checked my episode 33 review to see my thoughts back then, and I was like, I definitely gave that episode 8.5, and I was right. I gave it 8.5. That means that my opinions didn't change. The reviews are different nowadays. They're longer, more complex, more unique, right? But the core thing, my ideology is the same. So I was just surprised in a positive way when I saw that. But anyway, let's talk about this fucking episode for a moment. Straight away, I think the Inojin episode was a little bit better, so the rating for this episode is going to be a bit less than 8.5. But we're going to get into the final rating at the end of this video. So anyway, we all know that Metal Lee struggles with anxiety. This has been established throughout the Boruto series ever since the early episodes, and it's just something that is good because it's realistic. People in real life struggle with anxiety. They're nervous when others are watching or whatever because they feel this pressure of having to be great at everything, and then they fail or whatever. And Boruto as a series in general introduces these real life concepts, struggles, stuff like that. I mean, just look at Boruto and Naruto. You have so many fathers/mothers in real life who don't spend enough time with their children, and then children aren't happy and all that. So as I said, straight away, this is a big plus for me when it comes to the Boruto series. Now, during the versus Momoshiki arc, I think it was when Metal East team was when Metal East team lost in the Chunin exams. He kind of acknowledged that he didn't have any problems with anxiety, and I was like, okay, this is his, I guess, main character progression slash development. He kind of he's not going to be nervous anymore. And then when I saw the spoilers, when I saw that they were going to, have a Metal E episode, I was like, okay, so I guess they're going to, get back to the anxiety problem and all that. But I was like, I don't want his character to go back just to progress to the same spot where he was at the versus Momoshiki arc. And that, luckily, that wasn't the case. Something very, very smart was done in this episode. Basically, this is my interpretation. Metal Lee, at that moment in the Chunin exams, he genuinely thought that he overcame anxiety or whatever at the end of his time at the Chunin exams, but it was just an illusion. And sometimes that's how it works with anxiety. I personally don't have anxiety. Like, if you look up anxiety, it will tell you that, like, the definition is that these people get nervous in all social situations. I get nervous sometimes. For example, whenever I go to a date with a girl, I'm a little bit nervous, but not like it's not affecting me too much. It's just like, you're gonna go there, talk to her for the first time. You can't be 100% cold, right? But that's not anxiety. That's something that we all have, right? Because nobody's 100% confident in situations like these, right? So as I said, I don't have anxiety. But I can kind of understand the concept of anxiety, and I know some people who have it. And what happened to Metal Lee back then is he generally thought he overcame it. That's how it works sometimes in real life as well. People think that they did it because of certain situations, but they didn't. But then they didn't. And what happened is he realized, well, you saw it in this episode, that he still has anxiety, and he bought these necklaces that would kind of help him. At first I was confused. But then, it makes sense because it's like a psychological thing. You buy something, obviously it's not going to cure anxiety, but like it's a psychological thing. And his struggle in this episode is that he couldn't accept himself. And I thought that was done really, really well. You had this moment with him and Rock Lee. Rock Lee was going to teach him how to enter the 8 gates. He explained the concept and all that. And when he saw that Metal had these necklaces, he was like, I guess, he was disappointed, but he was a little bit too harsh because he wanted Metal to learn his lesson, right? And you also had Guy Sensei in this episode. I mean, that's a huge positive. And Guy and Lee kind of worked together to fix this issue. And, after Metal Lee spent some time with Guy, right, he kind of almost got to the answer, but still nothing happened. And by the way, just the interactions between Metal and Guy, it was very, very enjoyable. And honestly, I missed Guy. I said this multiple times throughout my past videos. I think that Guy should have died in Naruto because it would have been more emotional. And I guess it was explained why his leg is still like broken or whatever. But to me, the fact that Naruto saved his life from death and that he couldn't just fix this leg, and with all the medical ninjutsu they can fix the leg, for me that's BS. You can quote the explanation from the series to me in the comment section. I think it's a stupid excuse. I think it's completely bullcrap that he can't walk, and that's another reason why I think he should have died, because I don't like seeing something like this. But that doesn't mean that I don't like Guy as a character. It is because I like Guy so much that I think he should have had a perfect death. Just like how, Jiraiya, he's one of my favorite Naruto characters. But yes, I'm happy that he died because that made his character even better. Itachi as well. Stuff like that. But anyway, Guy is here and I'm enjoying his interactions with Metal. I think he's being the old guy that we all know. When he speaks, he doesn't feel out of character. And, even though he, I guess, barely talked in the Boruto series, the writers are still keeping the essence of his character. The comedy moments in this episode with him and stuff like that, the springtime of youth. And by the way, when you watch Naruto for the first time, sometimes you might cringe when you see this, but over time, you kind of get attached to that sentence, springtime of youth, and I was just hit with this feeling of nostalgia, especially at the end when Metal Rock and Guy hugged and cried or whatever. I just thought that was brilliant. But anyway, Metzl still didn't get the answer, right? After spending some time with Guy, and that's why this episode is so good, because he's slowly, from the first minute to the last minute, he's slowly getting to the answer. Right at the start, you see the anxiety issue. He breaks. I don't remember if it was the plate or something like that he had to carry or whatever. It doesn't really matter. And then Lee confronts him, but he doesn't tell him the answer. Then he's slowly getting to the answer, and boom! At the end, he learns that he should just accept himself. And this is pretty much the same lesson that Chocho learned. As you guys remember, in the previous mini Chocho arc, she was being fake. She was pretending to be slim and all that. And by the end of the arc, by the end of that mini arc, she learned that she shouldn't be fake. Like, it's not 100% same, because she was like completely being fake. In this case, Metal Lee just wanted something else to help him with his problem, but he kind of didn't accept himself. So that's like this. It's like similar, but not identical. Okay. Excuse me if I said earlier that it's the same, because it's just similar, not identical. But anyway, he learns that later on when he's confronted by his father, when he's about to fight him. He pretty much destroys these necklaces, and he says that he should just accept himself. And he was heavily inspired by my Guy and how he acts, despite the fact that he pretty much can't walk properly, that his right leg isn't functional at all. And this episode, apart from the fact that obviously one of the side characters progressed, and the fact that the episode was paced nicely, we even had a great fight at the end. It was animated nicely, even though it was short, but it was nice. Despite all of that, all of these are positives, right? But one thing that I want to add is that just overall, the episode was very it was cool, if you get what I mean. Now, obviously, this is my personal thing here, because obviously, I try to be as objective as possible in all of my reviews, but it's not possible for a review to be 100% objective. It's simply not possible. So this is a subjective thing here, but yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought everything was done really, really well in this episode. Now, at the start of the video, well, I don't know if it was the start, but earlier I said that this episode will get a lower rating than episode 33, and episode 33 got 8.5 out of 10. You may ask why, because I mentioned all these positives. Well, time to bring up a couple of negatives. Well, it's not really a couple of negatives, but one negative. This episode, I'm not going to use the word childish, because that necessarily isn't even too bad in certain cases, but the way anxiety was mentioned so many times at the start, and Metal Lee shaking whenever he gets the plate or whatever, obviously it's exaggerated a little bit for comedy and all that. I mean, this is anime, right? Everything is exaggerated in anime. Friendships, love, everything is exaggerated in anime, right? It's not real life. Of course, that is understandable, but still, I feel like 70 episodes in, I felt like the tone could have been a little bit more serious. If this was in the early stages of Boruto, I would be okay. This episode, 8.5, maybe even 9. But just because of that, I feel like it needs to have less than 8.5, just because of the fact that we're 70 episodes in, and just I thought that anxiety, the word anxiety was mentioned too many times in this episode, especially at the start, the early parts of the episode. It didn't feel too promising, but then later on it picked up and it was just brilliant. And honestly, if I were to be subjective, I would give it 9 or 8.7 or some shit like that. But I just need to acknowledge that the start, I just smashed my table, that the start wasn't the best. And it's not only because the word anxiety was mentioned so many times. Yeah, that was kind of not too smart, to repeat it so many times. But I don't know, something about the start of the episode, the vibe that it gave off, I just thought that it wasn't too great. But as I said, or implied, whatever, as I said, the episode picked up later on, and mentally progressed as a character. And I felt like, even though we had that little moment where he acknowledged that he overcame anxiety at the versus Momoshiki arc, I still felt like he needed more. But I was always like, what else could you do with his character, in terms of development, progression, or whatever. And boom, they did it. They did a great job and a very, very smart move. And I just think that this episode is better than the previous 3 episodes combined, the Chocho ones. And I never really had anything against Metal's character, but I was never super invested into his character. And I said this in my Boruto episode 33 review. I don't know if I'm going to quote the exact sentence, but I said something like this. This episode made me care for Inojin. It gave me a reason because I spent some time with him. I saw him learn some things, and I made a bond. And this is exactly like I got this with Metal in this episode. And that's brilliant. When the writer do that, it means that something is good, right? And it made me care for Metal's character even more. So yeah, for the final rating, I'm just gonna give it 8.1. 8.1 is I don't want to give it 8 because there were a couple of 8 out of 10 episodes, but this one was slightly better. If it wasn't for that shaky start, in my opinion, it would have been even more. But I think 8.1 is a good rating, high rating than any of the Chocho episodes in the past 3 weeks. And I just can't wait for the next episode. I mean, you guys saw the preview. I'm not going to talk about that right now. But anyway, that was your boy Hokage. Twitter and Discord links are in the description below. Also, link to my second channel where I talk about other anime manga will be in the description of this video. If you're new to this channel and if you're into the Boruto series, consider subscribing. You have the comment section, so let me know what you thought about this episode down there. And with that said, I'm going to end the video right now. That was your boy Hokage, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.